This time, Fibber McGee and Molly and Barrie Craig. Hello there, this is Victor Ives inviting you to join us for the golden age of radio theater. As once again we turn back the clock to relive the golden moments of radio's yesteryear and bring you the greatest radio shows of all time. Put together a pair of shows for you this time, Fibber McGee and Molly from 1945 and Barrie Craig, confidential investigator from 1953. Barrie Craig later this hour. First, and I don't know this episode, it sounds like it's a fascinating storyline, or as close to a storyline as you get with Fibber McGee and Molly. In this, let's see, this would be May 1st, 1945. A character named Briefcase Bronson is hiding out in Wistful Vista. Let's find out where the merriment begins.
Fibber McGee and Molly. Fibber McGee and Molly, with Bill Thompson, Gail Gordon, Arthur Q. Bryan, Dick LeGrand, and me, Harlow Wilcox. The Wistful Vista Post Office serves a variety of people and purposes. Some go there to fill fountain pens, some to read the posters on the wall, some to mail letters, and some, fantastic as it may seem, go to the post office to buy postage stamps. Like Fibber McGee and Molly.
Did you get your stamps, dearie?
I'll get them in a minute, Molly. I'm busy reading these posters. Look at them. Wanted for murder. Wanted for counterfeiting. Wanted for kidnapping. Wanted for robbery.
My goodness. Look at the one on the left there. Torpedo Gronsky. He'd make a lovely calendar for some exterminating company.
Boy, oh boy, I haven't seen so many hot mugs since the barbershop caught fire.
Well, let's get on home, dearie. I've got
Wait a minute, Molly. Wait. I want to look at the rest of these pictures. These crooks fascinate me. Look at this one, for instance. $6,000 reward. Wanted in 12 states.
I take back what I've always said, McGee.
What have you always said?
That it was a nice, warm feeling to know that you were really wanted.
Well, they really want this guy. For murder, arson, robbery, stealing, starting fires, and picketpocketing.
Picketpocketing? Don't you mean pocket picking?
No, picketpocketing. He busted up a union meeting with a shotgun. Boy, I'd like to lay my hands on that guy. $6,000 reward.
Now, take it easy, Dick Tracy.
Wow.
In the first place, this crook, what's his name?
Briefcase Bronson. On account of he always carries a couple of guns in a briefcase.
Well, he certainly looks harmless. Why, he looks like a school teacher.
Ah, don't let the glasses fool you, baby. That bozo is as heartless as Western celery. Wait just a minute, Fly. I want to memorize his description. Mild blue eyes, light brown hair, slightly bald, neatly dressed, mole on left hip.
Well, that's a big help. Mole on left hip. How on earth did you... Uh-oh, look who's coming across the lobby, McGee. Mrs. Carstairs.
Huh? Oh, my gosh. What's she doing in the post office? Don't she realize she might have to rub shoulders, to say the least, with the common riffraff?
Well, for the taxes she pays, dearie, they ought to carry her back and forth in a fur-lined mail sack. You know, they say that she... how do you do, Mrs. Carstairs?
How do you do, Mrs. McGee? What a pleasant surprise meeting you.
Hi, Carsty.
Oh, how do you do, Mr. McGee? What a pleasant, isn't this a busy place?
Well, it really is, Mrs. Carstairs. Fascinating. My husband and I spent 22 hours in here one day.
22 hours? How frightfully boring.
Yeah, painful, too. I had my hand caught in a mail slot. Tried to get my letter back when I remembered I didn't have a stamp on it.
You come down to mail a letter, Mrs. Carstairs?
No, my dear. I came down here to issue a protest. I definitely do not like the new 3-cent stamps.
Oh, well, that's too bad, Carsty. What's your objection? The glue on them tastes like glue?
I object to the color, Mr. McGee. That horrible magenta. For years, I've been using a pale blue stationery, and the combination of pale blue and magenta is simply revolting.
And so are you.
I beg your pardon?
I mean, you're revolting against the color of the stamp.
Oh, yes. I see what I hope you mean.
Well, it looks like you got the government in a nasty corner, Kirsty. They certainly can't ask you to change the color of your stationery.
Indeed not. In fact, Mr. McGee, I think I shall suggest that they issue a 3-cent stamp in a cerulean or Copenhagen blue, perhaps with your picture on it.
Oh, well, gee, thanks. That's pretty flattering, Kirsty.
I thought they never used pictures of living people on stamps.
That is correct. Well, I must be going. Good day.
Good day, Miss Carstairs.
Well, now there goes a tomato that don't even know she's a tomato. No amount of mayonnaise would convince her either.
Well, I think she's nice, McGee. You seem to have a gift for antagonizing her, though. Come on, now, let's go home.
Okay, and I hope we meet Briefcase Bronson on the way. $6,000 would come in awful handy, wouldn't it?
Mr. McGee, don't forget your stamp.
Oh, my gosh, I almost did. Thanks, Benny. These mine?
Yeah, those are yours. You sure you'll need all those?
Oh, yes, we can use them all.
How much I owe you, Bud?
9 cents.
There you are. Come on, McGee.
Okay. Mild blue eyes, light brown hair, slightly...
Golden Age of Radio Theater is presenting Fibber McGee and Molly. We'll be back in just a moment. Once again, Jim and Marion Jordan as Fibber McGee and Molly.
McGee, where are you?
Right here in the living room.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to get WVIS on the radio.
Oh, having trouble with it?
Yeah, a little.
How?
I can't find the radio.
You can't find... Oh, silly, you threw your top coat over it. On the table there.
Huh? Oh, yes.
See if you can get Walter Winchell.
Winchell was on Sunday. We're a little late.
I know, but when we bought this radio, they said it was a late model, so maybe you could...
And Mayor Carl Treble of Peoria, Illinois, who takes off tonight, announces that Peoria, starting today, will be a regular stop on the American Airlines.
Oh?
Peoria, as you probably know, is the birthplace of that famous and much-loved radio comedy team,
Oh, boy.
Amos and Andy.
Oh.
And now for the local news as time will allow. Blissful Vista Police are on the alert today for the notorious Briefcase Bronson, bank robber, confidence man, and murderer who escaped from the custody of deputy sheriffs late yesterday. Authorities are whom?
What did I tell you, Molly? Briefcase Bronson is still on the loose and $6,000 on his head.
Get that greedy look out of your eyes, dearie. Let the police catch him. You know, that's what we pay taxes for.
Oh, yeah? The cops in this town couldn't catch a stalled bus on a dead-end street. I think I'll call him up and offer to handle this end of town for him. I'll get a few guys together and drag out the throw net.
Throw out the dragnet.
Sure. I'll take Uncle Sycamore's old six-shooter, and if Briefcase Bronson pulls a gun on me, I'll fill him so full of lead they'll have to embalm him in a smelter.
Now, just a minute. Here.
I'll blast him down, that's what I'll do.
Oh.
I'll walk right up to him and I'll say, quiet and deadly, I'll say, okay, Bronson, I says, it's curtains this time. Then he'll go for his rod.
What for, to hang the curtains?
He'll go for his gun. I beat him to the draw. He sees I got him. He's yellow. He drops his gun. I stoop to pick it up. He hits me on the head and knocks me out. Hey, that didn't work out very good, did it?
Yeah. And while you lie there more unconscious than usual, Bronson disguises himself as a bottle of mint sauce and takes it on the lam.
Well, if the police department will give me a free hand, I'll bet you...
Come in. Oh, hello, Dr. Gamble.
Hello, Molly. And how are you today, slump seat?
Hi, Stork Chaser. I'm as well as a man could be who has a family doctor who took his degree at the stockyards.
Don't be insulting, McGee. Dr. Gamble is considered one of the best diagnosticians in the country.
In the country, that's quite possible. Anybody can diagnose a bee sting.
And you're just the kind of a simpleton who gets stung by a bee and then runs out and slaps a handful of mud on it.
Say, I've heard that was very good for bee stings, Doctor.
So have I.
Well, is it or ain't it?
Frankly, Trout Face, I wouldn't know. The Chinese used fruit mold poultices for 1,000 years, but now we call it penicillin and write articles about it. Savages have been dunking themselves in hot mud holes since time began. But we're educated. We call it hydrotherapy. It's very discouraging.
Well, I tell you, I'd suggest you don't carry anything very valuable when you make your calls, Doctor.
Briefcase Bronson is hiding out in Wistful Vista, Doc. I'm going to see if I can nail him and collect the $6,000 reward.
Look, my boy, I've got enough trouble keeping you on your feet without having to plug up a lot of leaks in your baggy frame caused by standing too close to a public enemy with a .45.
Oh, I can take care of myself.
Yes, you're in fine condition to go chasing gangsters. You wouldn't last 2 rounds with a revolving door.
I don't no. He's got a great big pistol that belonged to his Uncle Sycamore, Doctor.
You betcha.
And he knows where the trigger is without even looking.
I'm pretty fast on the draw, too, Doc. Watch this. Suppose I was packing a gun. Guy makes a false move, and I whip my hand back like this. Hey, get me loose, will you, Molly?
What's the matter with him?
Oh, dear, he's got his thumb caught in his belt. There you are, dearie.
Thanks.
And this is the little fumble fist who's going after Briefcase Bronson? The way you stick your neck out, buddy, you give a giraffe a terrible inferiority complex.
Don't worry about me, Fatso. You go peddle your pale pills to pink people. I'll do the bandit catching.
Yes, you probably will. When he sees you gumshoeing after him, he'll fall down laughing, and you can jump on his stomach. Well, I'll be at my office pretty late tonight if you need me for anything, like, say, sewing your ears back on. So long now.
Nobody thinks I can catch Briefcase Bronson, does he? Well, I'll show him. I'm going to call the police right now and get deputized. Hand me the phone.
Here you are.
Thanks. Hello, operator. Give me the Wistful Vista Police Department. Oh, is that you, Myrtle?
Oh, dear.
How's every little thing, Myrt? This, eh? What's that? Your grandmother got a sock in the what? Oh, that's too bad.
Now, who on earth would hit an old lady,
Oh,
McGee?
nobody hit any old lady. Her grandmother got a sock in the hinge of her sewing basket. Tore a big hole in the heel. What's that, Myrt? Okay, well, I was trying anyway. I'll call later. Police don't answer. They're probably dragging out the throw net for Bronson.
It's throwing out the drag net.
Yes. Well, anyway, if they...
Hello, folks. What's new?
You mean you haven't heard, Junior?
Heard what?
About Briefcase Bronson.
Who's he?
Who's he? Don't you ever listen to the radio?
You mean the one in my car?
Yes.
I haven't got a radio in my car.
Oh, for goodness sakes, Mr. Wilcox, haven't you heard about Briefcase Bronson, the desperado who was somewhere in Wistful Vista?
Gee, no. What's he doing here?
He's on the lam, Junior, and there's $6,000 reward for him, and I'm just the guy that would like to glom onto it.
Well, believe me, pal, he'll be awfully hard to track down in this town.
Why, Mr. Wilcox?
Well, look, if he's hot, he won't dare go to hotels or restaurants.
No.
He'll have to eat someplace, won't he?
I suppose so.
So what's the answer? He'll have to break into houses for food. That's why he'll be so hard to track down.
I got a nasty feeling that I'm lowering my guard, Junior. But why will he be so hard to track down?
Because any tracks he leaves in Wistful Vista kitchens will be wiped off the linoleum so fast by proud housewives there won't be any trace of him. You see, at this particular season with mud and rain so often tracked onto kitchen floors, practically all smart housewives are protecting and preserving and beautifying their kitchen linoleum.
Yeah, but look,
And the minute they see a muddy footprint or a spot of something spilled, they grab a damp cloth and presto, off it comes. Well, I gotta go.
So soon, Mr. Wilcox?
Yeah. Go down and get sworn in as a special cop and go after that $6,000 reward.
Now, just a darn minute there, Junior. You're muscling in on my territory. This was my idea.
Yeah, but my uncle is on the police force. Big Tony Wilcox. I got a drag and you haven't. However, if you catch him and I don't, I'll split the reward with you.
Well, that's better. Shake.
Okay. See you later, pal. So long.
My, that was quite a deal you put over there, pal.
Oh, Waxy's a pretty decent sort of a guy. This way, if I catch Bronson and he doesn't, I still get three... Hey, wait a minute. Was that the deal?
It certainly was.
Oh.
And a prettier piece of finagling I haven't seen since my cousin Clancy paid $500 for the exclusive rights to shoot whales in Lake Erie. Well, I'm going out and help you with dinner, McGee.
Okay.
Don't go bandit hunting without telling me now.
Okay. Ah, there goes a good kid. She knows that as a deputy sheriff, I got more chance of being swore at than swore in. If this Bronson ever... Come in.
Hi, mister.
Oh, hello there, Teeny. Come on, tally-boo.
Hmm?
That's French for how's everything.
Oh. Hey, mister, can I borrow some salt? I want to sprinkle my victory garden.
Sprinkle your garden with salt?
Mm-hmm.
What are you raising?
Peanuts?
Oh. Well, I hope you're not going to work in a garden wearing that pretty white dress, are you?
Sure. All the gardening magazines have ladies in them, all dressed up with gloves on and stuff.
Well, that's just for the photographers, sis. Minute the photographers leave, then women run in the house and get into some run-down shoes and a pair of slacks that make them look like they'd been put in on the bicycle pump.
Oh. Well, what difference does it make what you wear, mister?
Plenty, sis. You got to dress for different occasions. And I speak as an authority.
Gee, honest?
Yes, sir. I've always been known for my taste and judgment in clothes.
Oh?
Why, even when I worked in a sawmill way up there in Oregon, I was known as the biggest dude in the mill.
Oh.
Mildewed McGee, I was known as. Mildewed McGee, a magnificent mask of masculine muscle, mesmerizing moonstruck maidens from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Missoula, Montana, in my made-to-measure moleskin mackinaw with matching moccasins, maroon mittens, and magenta muffler. Mentioned most every month in many of the men's magazines as the mirror and model for male millinery merchants, meticulous material manufacturers, and miscellaneous members of the metropolitan mob. A merry, modest mug, but have you got a question, sis?
No, I'm going to spare me if you're going to go on like this.
For May 1st, 1945, you're listening to the Fibber McGee and Molly Show. Now back to the episode about Briefcase Bronson hiding out in Wistful Vista and how that's tangled things at 79 Wistful Vista.
Hey, Molly, I was just listening to the radio, and they think Briefcase Bronson is holed up in the old car barn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're searching the amusement park now.
Why are they searching the amusement park if they think it's in the old car barn?
What do you want them to do, get shot? I think I'll drop down to the police station right after dinner. And hey, when is dinner?
Almost any time now. I'll ask Beulah.
Yeah.
Oh, Beulah! Beulah! Somebody ball for Beulah?
Yeah. When'll dinner be ready, Beulah?
Well, sir, if you don't mind my saying so, if you had let Beulah select the pot roast for tonight, yes, if you let Beulah select the pot roast for tonight, dinner would have been ready several minutes hitherto. However, that beef you pick out, Mr. McGee, must have been a tired old bull when the Indians give General Custer that last scalp treatment.
Tough, is it, Beulah?
Tough? Ma'am, you got no idea. I soak it in vinegar. I slapped the Jackson of it with a rolling pin. I boiled it for 3 hours, and it'd been roasting for 5 hours. And I still feel like a toreador when I stick the fork in it.
Well, that's odd, Beulah. I picked that piece of beef out myself. The butcher says I was a chump to take it, but I thought he just said that because he was trying to save it for a special customer.
He ain't gonna make no friends and influence no people selling stuff like that. I'm telling you, it was a shame to butcher a steer like that. Still had 10,000 miles left in it.
Well, it'll probably make a good hash tomorrow, Beulah.
Yes, ma'am. If we can get Mr. Charles Atlas over here to turn the meat grinder.
Is it really that bad, Beulah?
Ma'am, I swear on a stack of ration books I have never seen a pot roast like it. The potatoes and carrots and onions I was cooking with it has long since been mush. But that meat's still soaking in that red-hot water like it was just relaxing in a warm bath.
Well, that's probably a cut off the cow that jumped over the moon, Beulah. All muscle.
Oh, cut the jump over the moon. You know, he just laying back waiting for me with that. I love that man.
I think I better go out and take a look at that pot roast myself, Beulah.
Okay, I'll see if I can find Uncle Sycamore's old pistol. So if I get deputized by the police, I'll be all set.
Well, now be careful.
Be careful, she says. As if I didn't know how to handle guns. Why, my father gave me a .22 rifle when I was 13. And bullets for it when I was 25. Anyways, I ought to get... Come in.
Good evening.
Hi, Bud. What's on your mind? If you got magazines in that briefcase, I warn you that we... Briefcase? Oh, my gosh. You must be... Oh, no.
Yes, I'm afraid I am. I wondered if you'd know.
Neatly dressed, brown hair, slightly bald, mild blue eyes. Hey, did you ever do anything about that mole on your left hip briefcase?
Oh, now, let's not get personal, my friend. Do you mind if I sit down before we get to business?
Sure. Here, sit down. Excuse me a minute.
Hey, where you going?
I thought I'd get a drink of telephone. I mean, I've got to call a glass of water. I'll see about it.
Oh, sit down. This won't take long.
Okay, but take it easy now, will you, briefcase? I don't care so much for myself, but my wife, my little wife, she's in the kitchen there.
Yes, it's her I was thinking about, friend. Tell me, if anything should happen to you, is she provided for?
Yeah, but is something going to happen to me?
One never knows, does one? Life is so uncertain. Accidents, holdups. Tell me,
You carry much money with you usually?
Oh, well, no.
Now, what I mean is, suppose, for instance, you were held up. You didn't have enough money with you, thus angering the hold-up man. He might shoot you down like a dog.
Don't this hold-up man like dogs?
That's irrelevant, my friend. Now, I have here in my briefcase...
I know darn well what you got in that briefcase. Briefcase? And I don't want to see him. Now get out of here, will you?
Oh, you don't think much of your life, do you?
Oh, please, Bud. You wouldn't actually... would you?
Well, that's what I came here for, but I suppose I'll have to give you a chance to think it over. But remember, I'll be back.
Sure. Come back anytime at all. Just get out of here now. That's all I want.
Very well. I'm sorry you feel that way about it. How do I get out of here? This door here?
Sure, right. No. Take that door there.
Huh?
That's it. That's the one.
Oh, thank you. Now, remember, think this over. I think you'll see the wisdom of doing business with me.
Oh, I'm sure I will, Briefcase. I'm sure I will. Well, so long.
So long.
Boy, the moose head got him. Knocked him cold. I got him. Hey, Molly, come here, quick.
What on earth are you yelling about, McGee? And what have you done to Mr. Davis?
I let him open the closet door, and that moose head knocked him cold. Get the police. Who?
Mr. Davis, the new insurance man.
Insurance man?
Why, sure, he always calls on Tuesday to collect our 35-cent premium.
Oh, my goodness. Then this isn't...
My arm.
Mr. Davis, I'm terribly sorry. Are you hurt?
Oh, my arm. I think it's broken.
Gee whiz, Bud, I wouldn't have had this happen for the world. It was all a mistake. You sure that arm is busted?
Yes, I'm sure. Oh, and me with no insurance.
This is ridiculous.
Sorry, folks, our time's up. Good night.
Good night, all.
You're listening to the Golden Age of Radio Theater. We continue now with William Gargan as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Our story is entitled The Imposter.
Barrie Craig speaking. A confidential investigator isn't always hired on his merits. His merits as a fact finder, I mean. Some clients choose you because they hope you're stupid. They don't want a cop. They want a stooge. You're to be the front behind which they can keep a criminal operation going. You're the rubber stamp certifying their sincerity so they can get away with murder. Yeah, you get them like that. Cases phony from the word go. That was my first hunch on Brenda Connor, a brunette with a tendency to overact. We launched her case in Central Park in a handsome carriage, complete with horse, silk-hatted driver, and lap robes. Around the park at $3 an hour. But I wasn't paying the tab. The lady was. Why the handsome cab in the freezing weather? I didn't ask. You get used to eccentrics.
The rhythmic clippity-clop. I'm able to think.
So who's the demon?
Demon?
The demon pursuing you.
You have a flippant way, Mr. Craig.
To cover up my emotions. I'm the type who identifies. A sad lady like you, I can cry harder than any little white cloud around. You were about to tell me.
It's my husband.
Funny now how it always is.
Ralph Connor. He was gone for 5 years, completely out of my life.
A long wait for a streetcar.
I'd almost forgotten him. And then 1 week ago, he came back to me.
And you resent his return.
I didn't say that.
That's right, you didn't. But you don't look overjoyed.
No. But it isn't what you think. I have no basic quarrel with my marriage, even despite the separation, but...
Throw the punchline.
Ralph, this man who's my husband come back. I'm not so sure that it is he.
I let Brenda Connor continue to unburden her soul over coffee. The tab was on me this time. How much coffee could a lady drink?
My alarm's about my husband, Ralph.
Yes.
I don't mean to leave the impression with you that...
That you're sure he's an impersonator?
Yes. My reaction to him since his return, my suspicions have been intuitive more than actual. I feel, I don't know.
Her husband takes off for 5 years, and then suddenly he's back. How did you receive him?
Well, gladly enough at first.
You asked him questions?
Yes. His explanation of his absence seemed genuine to me, understandable. He'd been out of sorts with himself. Suddenly 40 and restless, disoriented and neurotic, full of self-dislike, dissatisfaction with the career he'd chosen.
Said career?
Realty management. Connor and Saxton. Saxton is his business partner.
When did the doubt begin for you? The doubt, intuitive as you call it, that this voyager come back maybe wasn't really your husband.
The very first evening. Ralph was different. A stranger I didn't know.
After 5 years, he would be.
Yes, I know. But what I mean is the personality I once knew, the habits, the little things a wife knows about her husband. I could find none of them in this man.
Little things. Can you give me something specific?
Yes. The foods Ralph liked, always liked. This man has very different tastes. And even his speech, his way of phrasing things, and his thoughts, so different, so very changed, and even something physical.
What's that?
Left-handed. This man is left-handed. My husband, the husband I knew, wasn't.
Quite a switch, that. How about his appearance, looks?
Oh, there are some differences. Still differences that could only mean time, how time changes the face. Ralph was full in the cheeks. This man is gaunt, thinner. Oh, mind you, I'm not saying... Oh, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm confused. I'm so confused I can't even think straight, Mr. Craig.
Hooray for confusion. But there was more to it than the lady was telling. There always is. I got a peek into what was omitted in the telling. The time was later that same afternoon. It was raining buckets. I had my formal tie on for a ride over to see the husband, Ralph Connor, firsthand. The great thing about a jalopy, it either starts or it doesn't. Mine wouldn't. Wet wires from the downpour, I figured. But my guess was wrong. There was a gentleman on hand to correct me on it.
You'll only run your battery down, Craig. Get off the starter.
A guy in a rain slicker slouched in the back of my car. Nice eyes and an easy grin. And a familiar swell near the left armpit. I knew what that swell was. I had one myself to match it. A gun holster.
The wires aren't wet, Craig. There's another reason she won't start.
What's that?
This. Here. Your rotor.
Rotor?
You don't know about cars?
I know they go or don't go.
The rotor belongs under the hood on the engine where the distributor is. I removed it.
Why?
So your car wouldn't go.
Why again?
So you'd bum a ride from me.
Where are you parked?
Right behind you. Come on, I'll chauffeur you.
You sound like you know where I'm going.
Yeah, I think so. See Ralph Connor. You want to look him over.
You're well informed.
I took courses in mind reading. Come on, I'll drive you.
To Ralph Connor, this is?
No, not right away. I've got something else to show you first. You're stalling, Craig.
No, I'm thinking.
How about?
The penalty for armed kidnapping.
20 years. Life if you cross state lines. That's the Lindbergh law. And the chair if you compound kidnapping with murder. So what does it be, Craig?
I'd been grabbed at gunpoint before, but this one had a new wrinkle. No violence, no dent in my skull. No impulsive ride to the country. Just a short ride over to Queens, to a roadhouse you had to shove your way into. More people and floor space. A jam at the bar and a jam on the postage stamp dance floor. People laughing it up. People living it up.
Look over the dance floor. You see something?
Yeah. Sweat and suffocation.
No, I mean faces. For instance, over there, the brunette swooning all over the He-Man in a plaid shirt. You see her?
I see her.
You know her?
Brenda Connor, my client.
Well, that ends my mission. So long, Craig. You're on your own now.
Buster, wait.
Yeah, Craig?
The plaid shirt with my client. He's not Ralph Connor.
Married folks don't spend time here with each other. No, he's Chris Cantura. He's a tennis player.
A tennis player?
Love matches in the hot afternoon sun and love matches under hot blue lights with slender ladies with fat checkbooks.
Is this why you brought me here?
To show you a two-timing wife so you discount half to 90% of what she told you.
Look, as long as we're talking...
I've said all I want to. So you won't knock yourself out identifying me when I'm gone. Here's my card. So long again.
The card he'd left with me read, Mike Hassick, private detective. The guy who'd put the polite snatch on me was a private eye. I switched my plans around. You do with new developments. I didn't try to interview Ralph Connor right off. I drove over to his residence to case the place. Pretty fancy. A townhouse all lit up like utility bills with no concern to anybody. There was a parlor floor drawing room that opened onto a stone balcony. I was enough of a gymnasium genius to make the balcony without setting up too much of a commotion. After 10 minutes of eavesdropping on the rustle of thick oriental carpets, I got to listen to a live show. Brenda Connor and a guy I took to be her ever-loving mister on the other side of the glass.
You've got that odd look again, Brenda.
Look, Ralph. What odd look?
The frail, pale princess in the grip of a nameless terror.
Oh, you're being cruel deliberately.
Deliberately?
To unnerve me. Push me to the edge of reason. Push me...
Beyond the edge?
Into insanity. Yes.
I see. Now, suppose you try the shoe.
I tried the shoe.
To see how it fits you. What's been your scheme with me?
Scheme? I have no scheme.
The terrified glances since my return, so nicely timed when company watches, so beautifully acted. And the way you contrived to look at me other times. The unfamiliar stares, if I were not your husband, but an interloper.
Not an interloper, Ralph, but an...
Yes, Brenda?
An imposter.
I see. I am not who I am. Is that what you're saying? Oh, what about me is so changed? I'd like to know, Brenda.
Everything has changed. Your manner, your talk, your habits, so many little things. They're not like the Ralph I knew, the Ralph I remember.
An imposter, that was your word. Do you then really think I am not Ralph Connor? That I am somebody else? Some diabolical somebody else playing at being Ralph Connor?
I don't know. I don't know.
It was time to get off the balcony and make a more formal entrance into the life of Ralph Connor through the front door. I started to do same when I had a mishap. Cute word, mishap. It can mean anything. It can mean a tear in your trousers from an unexpected nail. It could mean a ton of brass landing on your head. In my case, it meant the last mentioned. A ton of brass. Ooh! It fell from a height, from upstairs somewhere with cannonball speed. What? Who? I was too sleepy to care. I just lay down.
From March 1st, 1953, the case of the Imposter of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Once again, our star, William Gargan.
One thing about consciousness, it always returns sooner or later. If you're not dead, that is. I wasn't. I had proof I wasn't. I could wiggle a finger. When you're dead, you can't. Rigor mortis won't allow it. I was on a couch with a guy slapping cold compresses on my forehead. A guy with nice eyes and an easy smile and wearing a rain slicker indoors. He was the private eye, Mike Hassick.
Able to get up now, Craig?
I'm up. What hit me?
A flower pot, solid brass. It was on the window ledge, 3 flights up.
It fell?
No.
Oh, it was dropped on me.
That's right.
By whom?
Me.
You're working for the Mr. Ralph Connor?
That's right.
An impersonator. Stand in for the real article.
If you want to believe a wacky two-timing wife.
I see. Who owns all the loot in the family? So don't answer it. I can guess the way it's shaped. My client, Brenda Connor, does. Your client hasn't got a dime.
That stuff about Ralph Connor being an impersonator is the malarkey, Craig.
Maybe, but answer me this. Can a man who's been right-handed to the age of 40 suddenly turn up left-handed? But don't answer it, Hassick. Think about it while I'm busy somewhere else.
You're going to heckle Connor?
Maybe. Oh, Hassick.
Come on.
Come here to the rear window a minute.
Yes?
What's outside?
The yard.
Yeah, it's a backyard. Not much of a drop. Only 10 feet, I'd guess it to be.
10 feet. So what?
So one of us has to be discouraged. You've had your whack at me. Now it's turnabout.
Craig, let me go. Put me down.
Put you down? Sure. Exactly what I intend doing. You meet some guys sometimes who have to be paid back in their own coin. I didn't set up a talk with Ralph Connor. I passed him up a second time. I had nothing to say to him yet. Instead, I looked up Saxton of Connor and Saxton, Realty Management. Connor's business partner. Maybe he could shed some light. A short guy with 2 stomachs and pink ears like he was always blushing. There was an oily look to him, like he was an accomplished phony.
I still don't quite understand the purpose of your call here to me, Mr. Craig.
If you've stalled long enough, Saxton...
If I've stalled?
Worked out answers in your head...
Well, I have no ulterior motives in evading you.
Then?
Well, it's just that I don't care to become embroiled in the man's affairs. That is, his affairs other than our joint business. Frankly, I've always found Connor strange and unpredictable. Explosive.
He was gone for 5 years.
Yes.
Did you keep his end of the business up all that time?
Oh, yes, scrupulously. His share of the net profits were put into an escrow account for what they amounted to. His drawing account, of course, was suspended while he was gone.
In the time he was away, did he write to you, keep in touch?
No.
Now, a big question. Is he Ralph Connor?
Yes, Mr. Craig.
You don't seem surprised at the question.
No, I'm not surprised anymore. I've been asked the same question before.
By whom?
2 persons. By Mrs. Connor and by a private detective named Mike Hassick.
So Hassick wasn't so sure of his client's identity either.
What's that you said?
Just thinking out loud. What makes you sure this new Connor is the same old Connor?
Why, everything about him.
Like?
Well, I don't know how to answer that quite. He looks like Ralph Connor, facially and physically. He knows about me, our business, the background of our business.
He's demonstrated all that to you?
Why, yes, of course. He has demonstrated an intimate knowledge of our business. It couldn't be faked. The man simply had to know.
Connor was Connor. Only thing, Saxton didn't tell me the notion convincingly enough. I double-checked on Saxton's truthfulness by applying some heat to the office bookkeeper of Connor and Saxton.
Why, Mr. Saxton told you outrageous falsehoods. Outrageous.
He didn't ring true to me too much. Good I got to you, Mr. What's it again?
Pippet. I'm the one to tell the truth.
Oh, that's peachy dandy. But get around to telling it.
Well, now, Ralph Connor, the new one, he's a queer one.
Meaning?
Well, when he came back after being away all that time, he didn't know my name. He kept calling me Pippin and Poppin. Pippin and Poppin, mind you, and it's Pippet, like it's always been.
Pretty staggering.
And then about the business, he didn't know about the old Cameroon account.
He didn't, huh?
The biggest account in the Connor Saxton agency, and he didn't even seem to know he had it. Like this wasn't his business.
What else?
Well, his easy way about money. Tipping me $1 when he sent me out for coffee. The old Ralph Connor only tipped 5 cents.
Is the new Ralph Connor also easy about money in other ways? Business ways, for instance.
I don't know what you mean.
I mean, like not asking for an accounting from Saxton to cover the 5 years Connor was away.
Well, there never was an accounting. And Mr. Connor never yet asked for one.
Well, you'd know that. You're the bookkeeper.
Oh, yes. I'd be the one to know, all right.
Is there an escrow account with Connor's share of the profits of the last 5 years in it?
Oh, no, there's no escrow account.
Well, were there any profits the last 5 years Connor's been away?
Oh, yes. Good profits. Business has been very good.
How good were the profits?
Well, I couldn't say without going over the books.
$50,000? Is that close to it?
It isn't far from it.
Then a sharpie like Saxton would have reason to play ball with somebody not the real Connor, but an impersonator. Keep all the accumulated business profits, so long as the new Connor didn't stick his hand out or yell for the DA.
Well, I'm afraid now you're getting too deep.
Oh, forget it. You've been a great help. You can go back to your books now, Pippin.
The name is not Tippet.
Oh, my mistake, Poppin.
It's Tippet.
It was time to form an independent impression of Ralph Connor, I figured. The townhouse sat next door to the East River. I'd just gotten to the doorbell when I found myself doing some more eavesdropping. Nothing subtle this time. Anybody for a mile around could eavesdrop along with me. A scream has carrying power. A high-pitched woman's scream. Brenda Connor. I could identify the voice. Brenda Connor at home, either being strangled to death or blowing her top. Inside the house, I didn't get to see my screaming client. She was in her room behind locked doors. The husband, Ralph Connor, told me the melancholy facts. Or do I mean the melancholy fiction?
Brenda is in there in her room with her doctor.
Doctor who?
Does that matter?
It matters. I'm jotting it down in my notebook. Mrs. Connor is my client.
Dr. Phipps. 275 Dartmouth Street, if you also want the address. Phipps is Brenda's own physician.
I get your emphasis. When can I see Mrs. Connor?
I don't know. She's under restraint.
Restraints meaning?
She's had a nervous breakdown.
All of a sudden?
No, my wife has a history of, say, emotional instability. Hallucinations, compulsive behavior, a fascination for unsavory places and people.
That's a careful reference to the roadhouse and tennis Adonis. Mike Hassick made sure I'd see.
Yes, so that you'd be aware of all the facts. This emotional instability in Brenda, it's one of the reasons I left her 5 years ago. I've had all I could stand of hysteria.
You make a glib case of it.
It's the truth.
What happens to Brenda Connor from here on?
Hospitalization. It's not the first time Brenda has been confined before.
And cured?
Evidently not, as this new breakdown shows.
Comes the time she's declared mentally incompetent. Who gets her money?
That is an impertinent question.
I'll answer it. You do. You step into her estate. I'll even bet you've already got the petition before the court with Dr. Phipps' affidavit pinned to it.
I don't care to dignify this nonsense any longer, Miss Craig. So if you don't mind, good night.
On the street, I had an encounter with a guy who was making a habit of it.
Stop a minute, Craig.
What for, Hassick?
A talk. Friendly talk.
With a gun in my ribs?
The gun's for my own protection. You play too hard.
So do you.
I have to. I'm in it for the cabbage, just like you.
Speak only for yourself.
You'll change your mind. $100,000. We split it down the middle.
Who gives it to us?
Connor, if you don't spoil it for him.
Keep talking.
Connor is a phony, an impersonator, like you said. The real Connor, he probably knocked off somewhere, the way I figure it. But none of our business. Now, this Connor grabs the wife's estate. We let him. You let him. Then the bite. He pays us off. We own him.
You're sure of your facts?
I checked. I sized everything up. Connor's a fake, a smart fake, and the winner. Let's win with him, okay?
Why did Connor hire you in the first place, Hassick?
To follow his wife around, report on who she saw, spent time with, that tennis player, you. So, now tell me, you playing it smart along with me?
What do you think?
I think you are. Sure you are. What have you got against money?
I played it smart, the poor man's way. I didn't go home and let Connor play out his scheme. I went back to Connor for a closer look at his scheme.
You've become a frequent visitor, Miss Craig.
Every 10 minutes. I realized out on the street that I'd said things in here to you that were out of line. I'm sorry.
Forget it.
Thanks. I can see now what a screwball Mrs. Connor is and how I went for the buck. The only thing...
Yes, Miss Craig.
I'm a working operative. I put in time and sweat. I've had expenses.
Oh, I see. You've got a bill, and you're wondering how you're ever going to get paid.
That's it. It's no obligation of yours, I know.
Oh, nonsense. I'll pay Miss Connor's bill. In fact, I'll make out a check right here and now. How much is it, Mr. Craig?
Well, 100 will about cover it.
$100. Very well. Here you are, Mr. Craig. A $100 check for you.
It means more to me than you think, Mr. Connor.
Oh, you don't have to thank me. The money's due you.
But I didn't mean it like that. Guess again, Connor.
I frankly don't understand you.
I'll explain myself. You wrote out a check, and you also wrote out a confession.
A confession?
You're right-handed. You wrote that check out right-handed. Like Ralph Connor should, since he was always right-handed.
Look here, Craig.
Let me finish. But you've been deliberately left-handed for Mrs. Connor's benefit since you came back to her. To confuse her about you, start her doubting your identity. See you as an imposter, but never be sure. Until she went out of her mind like she has.
Well, you can't prove a thing, Craig.
All kinds of tricks like that to play on her imagination. You thin down, change your known habits and clothes and foods, your style of talk. All to make an already unstable woman a screaming lunatic. Have her declared mentally incompetent so you could take control of her money and her estate. How big is the estate, Connor? Big, I'd judge it to be. No end of money. It has to be a fabulous grab to rate your fancy technique in crime.
I say again, you can't prove a thing.
Because you're really Ralph Connor, huh? And can prove it. Birth certificate, relatives stuck somewhere, fingerprints. That's what you're gambling on. Why you're so cocksure. You're immune, you figure. Win or lose, you can't lose. Since you're really not an impersonator, but the genuine article. Get your hat anyhow, Connor.
My hat? Well, where are we going?
To the district attorney's office to see what charge you can fit to your kind of cute scheme. Offhand, I'd say conspiracy. But what do you bet the DA finds a few more in the book?
And that's The Case of the Imposter with William Gargan as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. First broadcast in March of 1953. In just a moment, the showdown of the radio cowboys. A listener from Modesto, California wants to know who was the most popular, the Lone Ranger or Red Ryder? Well, I don't think there's any contest here. The Western hero who stood the test of time and in the long run wins the title King of the West has got to be
the Lone Ranger. Hi-yo, Silver! A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-yo, Silver, the Lone Ranger.
But for a while there, in the early 40s, Red Ryder gave the masked rider a run for his money.
From out of the West comes America's famous fighting cowboy, Red Ryder. Although the fertile plains of the Old West provided grazing lands for the cattle which roamed there, separating these plains, jagged mountain ranges reared their lofty peaks, and men worked and fought in them for the fortunes they held in gold, silver, and lumber. Thus, as our story opens, we find ourselves in the office of a lumber camp.
When the Blue Network stole the masked rider away from Mutual, Mutual countered by putting Red Ryder on opposite the Lone Ranger. And for a couple of years, Red outgunned the Lone Ranger in the Hooper ratings. But in the long haul, the Lone Ranger, his faithful Indian companion, and his great horse Silver had to take the title. And by the way, what was Red Ryder's horse's name? Well, America's famous fighting cowboy had a horse named Thunder. Remember that? And for an extra 5 points, Red Ryder's theme song was The Dying Cowboy. That's it for the Golden Age of Radio Theater. Victor Ives speaking, thanking you for being with us and inviting you to join us next time. We turn back the clock to relive the golden moments of radio's yesteryear and bring you the greatest radio shows of all time on the Golden Age of Radio Theater.
For a copy of today's program,
Call 1-800-326-0296 and refer to show number 11. That number again is 1-800-326-0296. And remember to refer to show number 11.